Hey, this is Lee Balcom, and I want to talk about a shift that you can make in your relationship that can transform your relationship, no matter where it is. It can transform your marriage, and it can also transform other relationships when you understand how this dynamic enters into relationships. So first, let's talk about how people often get into a marriage. They decide they want to get married because they love this person, right? They're going to show their love by getting married. That's part of the process of wanting to be in the relationship with this person. It certainly was true for me. I fell in love with my now wife, at that time girlfriend, and I wanted to say, hey, I love you with this relationship, with this commitment into marriage. And part of what happens when we fall in love is that we're adding in, we're putting in to the relationship, right? And so there's this process that happens. I'm showing love, I'm giving love, and I'm getting love. I'm giving love and I'm getting love. And in that process, we create this cycle, and the cycle creates this sustaining love that we feel. But something happens in relationship that end up being hurting relationships. And the change that happens is that people go from that, what am I giving? What am I putting into this relationship because I want to win you over? I want to prove my love to you, to asking the different question. What am I getting from this? What am I getting out of this? Now, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about the fact that it's not one or the other, because you could ask the question of what am I getting as being realistic. You shouldn't always be giving in any relationship. If you're 100% only giving, there's a problem. The focus is what we're really talking about. Now, let's think about it in kind of monetary terms, right? Let's say that I'm putting money into my bank account, right? I keep putting money into the bank account. And as long as I keep putting money into the bank account in excess of what I keep writing my checks and getting that money away, I'm going to maintain the balance that I need so that I can keep on living. But what if I keep saying, write that check, write that check, write that check, write that check, and I'm not putting in anymore. I'm just trying to get from that account. Eventually, it's overdrawn. Eventually, it runs dry, as does love in a relationship. If all you're doing is asking, what am I getting out of this, forgetting that giving piece, eventually you're going to bankrupt the relationship. And that's what happens. It's a shift that mostly people see it in kind of the rearview mirror. And I talk about this many times with couples where I'm asking, what are you giving at this point? What are you putting into the relationship? And they're asking me the question, but what am I getting? That's my question. What am I getting? The problem is they've been asking that question so long because they stopped giving along the way. It happens when relationships get into trouble. You start asking that question, what am I getting out of this? What have you done for me lately? To quote a song. And that whole question, what have you done for me lately, ends up being the question of what am I getting out of this? That very question, floating in your head, what am I getting out of this, begins to change the relationship. It's not about whether you're getting anything out of the relationship, because if you're in a relationship where truly you're not getting anything out of it, there is a problem. And many times what's happened is you've both bankrupted the whole account, right? The relationship account, and there's nothing left there for either person to get because they didn't continue to give. When we continue to give, there's always, and this is the interesting thing, there's always love to give. I have an endless supply of love to give. But eventually somebody might say, enough's enough. I'm not going to give you more because you keep asking, what are you giving? So that question is what transforms the thinking. What am I getting? Drives us down the road of being critical of what a spouse is doing, being critical of the relationship, and it puts us in a mindset of doubt about the relationship versus asking the question, what am I giving? How can I give to this relationship? You see, behind all of this is the fact that love is really about actions. Sure, we talk about it in many different ways, and some are emotional ways of the feeling of love, right? Am I feeling that love? But when we're getting married, when we're taking those vows, when we're talking about that you commit to loving your spouse, we're talking about being loving in action. There's nothing in a promise of saying, I will always feel that passion for you, because feelings come and go. Actions are within our control. We get to choose how we're going to act towards somebody else. And so when we're making that pledge, we think that what we're making those vows about is that we will always feel that love. It's not. We are pledging our actions to be loving actions, to take loving actions towards a spouse. So the one shift that can transform your relationship is to stop asking the question, what am I getting from this relationship? And ask the question, what can I give to the relationship? If you're at a place where you're feeling like your relationship is already bankrupt and you're not sure how to make those deposits, come visit me at SaveTheMarriage.com. That's SaveTheMarriage.com. This is Lee Baucom wishing you the best as you work to save your marriage.